findings from neuroscience and enables a targeted influence on our nervous system by addressing and promoting our three movement controlling instances. As a result, they are able to gather and transmit higher quality information so that the brain can safely recognize when we are safe and thus use our full power. It will now no longer intervene in a precautionary way, but will additionally help you to perform the desired movements in a safer and more focused way. Especially in the aftermath of a previous injury, neuroathletics training is of great importance as it can help you release unconscious blocks and regain your old strength. Your brain wants to do everything in its power to prevent you from sustaining further injuries in the future as a result of this painful event, so it will take much higher safety precautions when you start playing sports again. Overcoming these is almost impossible without training our nervous system. The idea is to bypass this automatic protective mechanism by using neuro exercises to briefly switch off the particular area in the brain that was sending this unpleasant stimulus during the movement previously associated with pain. The exercise is then repeated painlessly and, above all, slowly to accustom the brain to the fact that this movement no longer poses a danger to the body. Before this process is complete, however, usually 80 hours of training must be completed. Neuroathletics should therefore be performed on a long-term basis and on a regular basis. Neuroathletic training, also known as neuroathletic training or NAT for short, has been significantly shaped by sports scientist and trainer Lars Leinhard, who has been pursuing this training approach since 2010 and has made it known throughout Europe. In doing so, he incorporates the approaches of leading neuroathletics expert Dr. Eric Cobb, who already focuses on neurocentered training and therapies with his Z Health program. The Z stands for the Russian word zdorve, which means health. Cobb incorporated many different approaches and techniques into this training concept, but probably the most significant idea behind it is the consideration of the psychological impact of fear on our bodies. This brings us back to the question that influences everything. Could this situation be dangerous for me, if not threaten my life? Or am I safe? Leinhard has already used NAT to train various top athletes extremely effectively, for example, coaching the German national team at the World Cup in Brazil in 2014, or the German track and field athletes at the Summer Olympics in 2016. The successful printer Gina Luckenkamper also benefits from NAT units. This illustrates the effectiveness of this still new training approach. Contrary to the initial difficulties in getting it accepted and recognized in the entrenched view of the sports world, Leinhard was so successful with it that he was able to bring even the most trained athletes to a completely new level. Who would have even guessed beforehand what effects these small, sometimes strange-seeming exercises really have? Let's look at an example. A middle-aged man exercises regularly with his body weight and knows what form to maintain during certain exercises in order to perform the movement clearly. Nevertheless, he notices how he keeps slipping into bad postures because he lacks stability. He now wonders what he can do to train healthier and more effectively. If he were to seek the advice of several trainers or physical therapists, many would certainly advise him to incorporate stability training into his routine and to better develop his deep muscles. For example, forearm supports, lunges, or standing balances would be on the daily schedule to strengthen the core of the body in particular. But these exercises once again focus on the muscles. If we now look at the problem of instability in the context of neuroathletics training, completely new approaches to solutions arise in practice. Trainers would have our amateur athletes snort here, for example. What sounds very bizarre at first has a very similar background. If you hold your nostril closed, then sniff and try to draw in as much air as possible, you activate a certain area of the brain. This area controls our head, eyes, and spine and enables us to perform movements more stably and safely when it is actively engaged. And that was just one example of many. For almost every problem that occurs during individual trainings, regardless of the type of sport or exercise practiced, you can find at least one exercise in NAT that can help you overcome it. Even if you have tried everything humanly possible and have not seen any significant improvement, in the end it all comes down to one principle. If faulty or expandable processes are playing out in the brain, you can't make much progress physically, no matter how hard you work towards.